So today in these 30 minutes we take you along and introduce you a bit about the studio. Then we want to discuss the repositioning of where we stand nowadays. And we want to share two projects with you, Wooden Textiles and Sun Plus, both research projects. And we want to take you along to our solo exhibition at Langenhuijsen in Amsterdam. This is a physical presentation which we take you along with online, and we want to share how we nowadays share this tactile work within digital presentation. So this could be maybe interesting for all the students that are among us now. Well, we are in Amsterdam. We're sitting in our studio, and this is the studio where we work from daily. We are a material research and development design studio, and our products reach from wearables to interior. And we are two very sensitive creatures with all our senses on sharp all time. We are touched by uncertain color, or we are grabbed by open mass. We are tempted by grainy surface, and it can be yellow or is it pink. These are fascinations that Brecht and I have both, and that's where we also find each other. We are very sensitive to time and place, to light and layers, and we're trying to serve spaces and creatures from what we wear to what surrounds us. Yes, what's this?
Sorry, no? Maybe one.
Are we going down? Do you see we have a black screen now.
Doe eens nog eentje naar beneden.
Unfortunately, we also have a black screen.
Doe eens nog naar beneden.
Ja, ik ga naar beneden. We don't know what goes wrong. Wait. Because when we go up, kijk, yeah, we are there again. Do you have connection again?
Yeah, you just need to share your screen again.
Oh. Maybe it's too heavy. Wait. Share screen. Are you there?
Yeah, we can see the image again. Yep, perfect.
Yeah, we can continue. So it's basically, we see it as the skin between bodies, between spaces, between inside, between outside, between then and now. It should be open and it should be porous. The interrelations that we have between those layers should be tangible. So Belén in collaboration with natural fibers.
Yeah, a lot is happening right now in the world. How to reposition ourselves as humans, as individuals, as designers, as a company. Yeah, we've seen greenery as a backdrop of our lives, something naturally, the origin of the world naturally already says it. Let's follow Timothy Morton's advice and try to skip the word nature, because the word nature makes a difference between us and the nature, the rest.
Okay, gaan we weer. How can it be? Yes, it is. Black screen. Is it loading? It's really weird. Philip? You see the black screen too?
We do, unfortunately.
That's really sad, huh?
A heavy file, maybe show it as a PDF or...
Yeah, then we need a second. Well,
Okay.
Maybe if we escape the full screen modus, the film modus.
No worries, we can wait.
Kijk, ik doe hem nu als PDF.
Are you still on the shared screen?
Yes.
So you can see what we see now, yeah?
Yes.
So then probably if we do this.
Yeah, that's also fine.
Let's do this.
Ja, maar dan is dit wel heel stom.
Yeah.
Doe die comment even. Ja, wat is dat nou?
Gaan we zo. Doe het zo.
Ja.
Is this then we should do it like this. I think it runs to. I think the play modus is maybe too heavy.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's do it like this.
Okay. On the left side, we see people as part of nature, and on the right side, people overruling nature. Emanuele Coccia says really nicely, the trees are the mothers of spaces. We have fingers for grabbing branches, and we have 2 eyes to see the depth of trees. And Michael Marder is even saying that maybe we have 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and plants. Dat was dit al. Alexander von Humboldt made us aware of the Luftzee. Like water we really see as a fluid compound that is traveling around the world, but the air of course also does. So how we try to see the world is really, yeah, more like
between the sun and the earth, approximately.
It's really about it's turning, it's changing all the time. So if we zoom in a little bit more, we see, yeah, very 2D versus 3D, and when we see it in another perspective, it's even more visible. And we also tend to feel again that we can really do we can really deal differently with the world by growing in different layers, and we can kind of expand spaces and time again. So it really made us aware that through the years we've been learning a lot about materials, observing their growth, studying their characteristics, following their processes. One very important thing we learned was that we like it best to collaborate with the materials, not forcing them into a certain idea, but let them speak. And since materials are there much longer than humans, and we as humans being just a tiny time slot in Earth's life, we think it's even more suitable to say natural fibers in collaboration with Belén instead of the other way around.
Wooden textiles. This research project started in 2010 with the question of could we see wood more flexible? Could we treat it as a textile? Because the characteristics of wood, that it absorbs sound, moisture, and smell so well, is very interesting and suitable for a textile. And we knew that wood could be a veneer and bend one direction, but we wanted to see it as a character on itself. That you still see the nuts of the trees, the fiber structure. And of course, we know viscose that comes from cellulose and comes from wood, but here we lose all these characteristics. So during our research, we found out through Volkenkunde Museum and the Tropen Museum here in the Netherlands, which are 2 museums for anthropology, that there exists this like very old craft, tapa making, that is worldwide performed, but nowadays still performed in Tonga, one of the islands in the Pacific Ocean above New Zealand. And tapa making is beating the bark of the paper mulberry tree into thin sheets of wood, which forms a canvas and becomes actually a flexible cloth. Here you see how one lady, Miley, where we worked with and we set up an atelier with for 6 weeks to find out how we could exchange this information in textile making and design with the craft that they perform. And she's beating the inner bark of the paper mulberry tree into a fine sheet of wood. You still see on the left image some knots of branches that came out. And you also can see this hard wooden tool that is beating the bark, and therefore you see the structure that is pushed out horizontally. So in their culture, they beat these barks on their own veranda, and once a week they come together. And this is also a social matter. This is not only a product where, but this is really something that belongs and is a daily part of their culture. So they all bring in their own individual tappa, but together they worked on a gesamt piece, you could say, because they produce one sheet of cloth, one tappa piece, that they then enrich with drawings, family drawings, drawings of history, all drawings that fit their culture, that fit Tonga. Also through the Pacific, you will see different drawings belonging to different islands. And these drawings, so the tappa, the layer, the cambium layer, that actually becomes the canvas where they draw their stories on. And this is really part of daily life. It are gifts for weddings or funerals. They wear it, but no, you will not find one family without a tappa piece. It's their gold, and it's where they pay their debts with. So here you can see a ceremony of how the tappa is traditionally used. And now we will share a movie, and we take you along the steps of the process of how these offshoots of the mulberry tree that actually grow on the fields where they grow their vegetables on their own land, how these tiny trees that grow for 1 to 3 years become the wooden textiles. So here you see all the trees, and here they are taking off the outer bark, the cambium layer of the tree, and then they separate the inner bark from the outer bark. And the inner bark, so the cambium layer, is the basis for the tappa making. You see that they use 2 trees, become 1 sheet of tappa. They soak it in only water, and then with a hard wooden tool, they beat it into this fine sheet. And these 2 trees form this 1 sheet because obviously the top part of the tree is younger and thinner. So that comes in the middle and becomes 2 layers, and it's beaten into a rectangular shape so that it all becomes 1 equal tissue. And it's every time it's so impressive to see this, that those 2 trees become 1 and form together. And then here you see how with the sticky potato glue, the tappa and the sheets of tappa are actually glued together to generate a double layer of fabric to make an endless piece of canvas. But the sticky potato or the manioca, the tape, the glue they use makes the material again a bit stiff. It really forms a canvas. And we were also wondering, like, what can we do to now form it into a textile so that all those trees, so those 4 meter long sheets by 70 centimeters wide, that are all connected, how can they stick together? So we managed with a lot of research and development and try out and making samples to embroider the piece with a net. So it's a stitching technique and it forms a net over the big canvas of 16 meters long by 2 meters wide. And this makes it possible to actually treat it like a textile. You're able to enrich it by washing it, dyeing it, and actually like dry cleaning it. So you break the wood and it really becomes a fluffy, airy fabric. So here from left to right, you see a close-up of the wooden textiles. The wooden textiles are originally like ivory, like a light color. And then you see that in this example, we have the black stitch in it. So it makes it very graphical. And then in the middle, you see a zoomed out piece where you see 2 barks connected. So you also see the color difference of the wood. And in the right image, you see the zoomed out version where you see that when the stitches are closer together, this also forms a difference in the stitch that is taking over the wood, or when you stitch more open, the wood comes through or takes over the stitch. And then in this slide, you see a few color differences that we can reach. It's a beautiful material to use natural dyes with, because it has such an open cell structure, and it's a natural material. It absorbs these dyes very well. So in the left top we see madder. The yellow one is reseda. We also work with tannins, and this is beautiful when you stitch with silk, because the silk absorbs the tannin differently. So you get an effect that the wooden textiles is more bluish, while the stitch becomes more reddish. And yeah, this is difficult to show online. Yeah, we would love that you will experience this once in real life. And it could be because the wooden textile work has been exhibited through Talking Textiles exhibitions previously. And on the bottom row, you see the indigo and the Tonga dye. And this piece that was also part of Talking Textiles, the last exhibition, is in collaboration with Abu Bakr Fofana, and very great designer from Mali that works a lot with indigo and with mud dye techniques. And he colored one of our wooden textiles with the mud dye technique. And you see that both sides actually become very interesting. Front is more outspoken, while the back side becomes very earthy. Well, the application of wooden textiles go from wearable to murals. Here you see a few examples of murals. We have done them until 50 square meters of panels of like 6 panels connected, and it are very beautiful backgrounds for human beings. It's a very natural product that absorbs water, moisture, and smell, and therefore it's nice to have to use as a bigger surface for the interior. And when we use it for furniture, we can work with the stitch technique that on the sitting part, we obviously embroider it more intensively for use, and we stitch it less on parts that are less being used. And then here, our wooden textiles code. This is actually a very simple cutout. It comes from a flat piece, and only by doubling it and taking these 2 triangles out that are stitched, it forms this code, which is also embroidered already in its shape, and therefore interesting because it only needs a cutout and 2 stitches to form the sleeves. well, next research project.
Yeah, the Sun Plus. Sun Plus actually started very intuitively. There was more and more signs like the sun is so dangerous, but we intuitively we are always attracted by it, and if it's there, especially in Holland, of course, we want to get into it. So we thought let's dive into this subject. We made 3 books: the why, the what, and the how book. We already discovered quite quickly in 2017, we worked on this research, that sun creams, they go through our skin, which is porous, so they come into our bodily system, and they are also forming a UV filter on the shores where we swim, and the life underneath is damaged by it. And also the use of all the polyester parasols, sunscreens. It's for 99% of the sunshades, they use polyester. And polyester is actually quite bad with the sun, because the sun breaks it down, the material, right away. So we thought we need to kind of reposition a happy life under the sun. Too much is not good, too little also not. It's also very much depending on your skin, depending on where you are, depending on the weather, of course. But too little and too much can really be harmful. So we went with the what research book. We went through time, through different cultures, and we looked what our relation was and is with the sun. The first gods were all based on the sun gods. So in that sense, in the beginning, it was very clear to people that the sun is the source of life, and without sun there's nothing. And then we went to see what were habits, or are still habits, for things that you can put on the skin to protect it from olive oil for a long time ago already, but also what you can wear. So we were surprised that, for example, in the middle you see a Roman very old painting where we see already a bikini, but also, of course, very covered wearables. Nowadays we still see it from topless to almost totally covered in the sea, sometimes to protect from the sun, sometimes for religious reasons. And then we've also been looking in sun shades, so to protect ourselves from the sun through almost architecture, or tents, or cloths, or big leaves like here. And then we came up with the first series of products, and some products we are still developing.
Yeah, so we actually wondered how can we use textiles to find a better balance, to protect ourselves, but also to gain sun and gain the vitamin D that we really want to gain from the sun. But to do so, it's more complex. We have all a different skin type, but we are also on different locations worldwide. Season depends of it, the position of the sun. So you need to be aware of that, and there are different apps that you can use for that. So you can type in your skin type, and you could tell your position, and then you get an advice on your daily use at that moment of sun, and when you should protect or should wear and cover yourself. Our first product is the sunglasses. They almost become textile, but they are made of steel, 0.3 millimeter, and they are etched. And so basically 1/3 of material is taken away. And because the material is so close to your eyes, you can look through it. We have it in 5 different skin tones. And we made these sunglasses because we found out through research that when you're wearing normal sunglasses, then actually your brains are tricked because they think you're in the shade. But normally when you step into the sun, you get a reaction towards your brain that says, okay, I need to protect myself. I need to produce something to not sunburn. But this doesn't happen when you wear your normal sunglasses. And then the UPF 8 hat we designed for the UPF 8, which means that you can be 8 times longer in the sun than you normally can without protecting yourself. But with UPF 8, you're still absorbing and gaining vitamin D. And this hat is most beautiful to wear when the sun is highly up, because then it gives you a complete shade from top to bottom. So by researching it more and more, we actually figured out that we could make our own UPF textiles by working and with the cover factor, by weaving it in such a way that we create different cover factors. So by using different thickness of threads, different densities, and different techniques, we actually made a collection of wearables where you can choose to see if you want to cover yourself with UPF 8, so more open, to have more vitamin more UV coming through, or that you cover yourself a bit better by having a more dense woven wearable textile. And currently we are developing the collection and developing from samples where we tested all the UV UPFs, the factors. We are now developing the collection that we will produce this coming year. So hopefully by beginning of spring, European spring, the collection will be available. It's a, this is, Brecht, fill me in. This is a collection based on very old,
it's ancient clothing pieces, but also still in use, inspired by countries where there is a lot of sun, a lot of heat, because of course it should be very airy, but it should be very covered. So this is kind of the difficulty within this project. So these are the first sketches of the wearables. And then here, probably Philip's favorite. It's a very thick double tuft. So the thicker the material, the more cool it stays underneath. So we thought, how can we make a kind of openness, but have a very thick mass that lets the sun through, but also cools a little bit down. And it's made from Sicily. Sicily?
It's a handmade project in the studio, and we actually figured out a tufting technique, like a double tufting technique by ourselves. Let's go for a zoom in, where we made a raster of cotton fibers, but very open structure, 5 by 5 centimeters. And through the very loose cotton threads, we actually brought the sisal threads in loops to generate aids. So it becomes a very natural structure that feels very familiar, but at the same time, there's no technique that is that you can find that can produce a piece like this. But at least it comes closest to the tree that actually is the nicest way of giving shade and giving it's the nicest atmosphere to be under, and that is what we try to reach, to find a way on how can we give a nice shade but still have the wind coming through and the light coming through.
Yeah, and maybe because there's we already over time, maybe we need to very shortly touch that we also are developing a PLA which will split the UV as much as possible from good to bad. So that would mean that we can have a parasol where we can still gain our vitamin D under. And then shortly about
how are we? Maybe Philip can say that.
No, it's okay. Keep going.
Then decide if we move on or not.
It's fine. Don't worry.
What do you think, Philip?
Yeah.
Can we spend 2 more minutes on a physical presentation and a digital presentation?
Of course.
Okay, we continue. Soft Borders was our first solo exhibition, so we went with all our materials to this incredibly space at Looyersgracht 60. It's a space that is kept quite rough. It has a history, and the materials were blending in very, very well. So we were very happy that we got this chance where those materials could meet and interrelate with each other, and very intuitively there were we were creating kind of corners of pieces that fit together. We also created some pieces like this carpet. It's actually this part of the wall. It's tufted in this carpet existing out of a very heavy falling chainette thread. Here you can see that it's really falling when it goes up, and when it's down, it's like it's really giving over to the gravity. Here you can also see our go-through wall. It's existing out of flax, almost tails. And you can just go through, so the wall forms a mass. It's also very acoustic, but you can go through everywhere. And this is something we really like, because we don't like these fixed walls that tell you that it's just very
this exhibition
static. And
this exhibition is actually a search of how we can live in our surroundings, and how we can draw in it, and how we can be surrounded by tactility and by different tactilities and different atmospheres. So it was great to have all these different sort of textiles together, and all these different materialities, but at the same time they formed one feeling, one.
And then digital presentation. During the lockdown, we've been working on our website, and we were questioning, like, let's see if this movie works. Yeah, we were questioning, like, how can we bring this materiality on the website. So we bought a very good film camera, and we actually try from now on to photograph moving images, because materiality is you're not able to bring it over in images. So we really need to see this movement, and even sometimes we use sound with it to make it extra tangible and sensitive online. Ja, nog een stukje snel. Ja.
Thank you.
No, thank you, girls. I think it's amazing for the
Can't
audience.
hear you, Philip.
Oh, is it now working?
It works. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, thank you. I just wanted to say it's great to, I think, experiment with film, sound, to express the tactility, even the image where you show people touching the fabric, so you can almost feel what the other person is feeling. So I think that's super important right now, especially for the designers in the audience who are all, you know, struggling with the same problems.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for sharing your work, and of course it's always as beautiful. The exhibition that you did, I think, was one of the most beautiful textile exhibits I've ever seen in my life. So I stayed there for a few days, but I had an hour or so. It was really quite amazing. So thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
exhibitions should travel.
Yeah, I would love to take it anywhere. So
We should find a way. Yeah.
okay. So thank you very much.